I'm like, I know the nurse definition of a code, but what does medicine net say? I'm just trying to figure out why my eyebrows are twitching. Hey huns, it's your favorite nurse Jasmine, and I'm back today with another nursing video. So today's video is going to be another experience time. Actually have not did one of these in quite a bit, so I felt like it was time to bring you guys another one because you really seem to love them. If you are new to my channel, I wanted to let you know that experience time is basically the same thing as a story time, where I basically tell you guys a story, but it is more of an experience that I have actually had myself as a nurse. So today's experience time is going to be all about my first code. So basically a code is cardiopulmonary arrest, and you have to run a code, which means you have to try to resuscitate them. So yeah, that's the best way I can explain that. So I'm going to tell you guys all about the first time I had a code, and if you're interested, continue to watch. So believe it or not, guys, my first code was actually while I was a nursing student, and it happened to be in the same unit that I accepted my very first ICU job, and it is kind of what made me want to be in the ICU. Like, the adrenaline was super crazy. I didn't know what to do. Like, your girl was shook. Okay, so basically this is how it went down. I went to clinicals that day. I was in my last semester of nursing school, so I think I was in management, which is like where you're following like charge nurses and stuff like that, and you're learning to delegate and all that other BS that they try to teach you in nursing school that you don't retain. But my clinical setting was actually in the ICU, so that's when we were doing like our ICU and all the other higher acuity rotations. And I was lucky enough to score high enough on my ATI where I was placed in the ICU. It was in a raggedy hospital. Like, the hospital was rough and no one wanted to go there, but I was okay with it because I was able to be in the ICU for 12 hours. So if I'm gonna have to be somewhere for 12 hours, I was like, okay, I at least want to be in the ICU. So I go to my clinicals, and it was my second clinical shift. So the girl that I was following, I actually was following her again the next day. So I had already got to know her, and everybody was like super cool. But the first day we didn't hear any like codes or anything, which now that I think about it, I'm kind of surprised, because in that hospital it was like codes every single day. If it wasn't in the ICU, because we had 2 ICUs in that hospital, so if it wasn't in the ICU, it was usually on some other floor. We hadn't even made it to lunchtime yet. It was still pretty early in the shift, and I remember that I heard the code overhead. So I remember we were like super busy. Like, our patients were heavy loads. Like, it was a lot, and I'm sitting over here still trying to learn how to prime freaking IV tubing and wondering why it's taking so long to reconstitute my Zosyn. Like, I remember I used to have the hardest time with the dumbest stuff. So yeah, like, we're doing all of our stuff, and I'm like over here trying to like do as much stuff as she would let me do, give all the shots and all that other stuff. And so basically the way that the unit was separated, there were 2 ICUs, but they were on 2 different floors. So MICU was on one floor, and then SICU was on another floor. So MICU is medical ICU, SICU is surgical ICU. And in the back of surgical ICU, we had our cardiac ICU, which we called it D-side. I don't even know why, but it was SICU D, and it was in the back, and that's where all of our heart procedures, open hearts and all that stuff will go. Usually if you're gonna get a code, it's usually in SICU D, or it was in MICU. So that day I was actually in MICU, and surprisingly the code was in SICU C, so like the regular part. And so we heard the call overhead. Usually if you hear a call for the code, the ICU is the code team. Well, in that hospital, our ICU is the code team. You take the crash card and all the rest of that stuff. But as a student, my nurse was like, hey, and she was talking to the charge nurse. She was like, hey, I'm gonna take her up to the code. Can you keep an eye on our patient? So I'm sitting here with like a shit ton of meds in my hand, and I'm like, okay, do you want to take these? And she was like, no, stick them in your pockets. And I was like, okay. So I put them in my pocket. So we went to SICU. It was kind of like an open unit, and then the nurse's station was in the middle. So when we got up there, they were already bagging the patient because the patient wasn't intubated yet. They were already bagging the patient, and they were already doing compressions. So I was just sitting there like, what can I do? Like, I want to do something. And I'm like, I'm a student. They're not going to let me do anything. Like, in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do something. I don't know what I can do, because I didn't know. I didn't know what I could do. But I was just like, this is like giving me a lot of adrenaline, and I need to do something. It wasn't even a full 2 rounds of CPR. And I know they had given some epi. I can't remember what else med was passed. And they were like, hurry up and give sedation meds so we can intubate. And then, so somebody else was doing CPR. And the intensivist, well, at the time he wasn't an intensivist. He's just a pulmonary doctor. I mean, even as an intensivist, he's still a pulmonologist. But at that time, we didn't have like legit intensivists on our unit. He was intubating, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm like in it. I was like, I know I'm supposed to be like in the corner, but I want to see this. Like, I had to just be in the mix. I wasn't saying nothing, and I wasn't like in anybody's way, but I made sure that I had like a clear view of what was going on. And I was like, yo, my clinical, like my care plans and stuff is about to be so good. Like, it's gonna be boss. I hated doing care plans. Oh my god, that was so stressful. Okay, so then by that point the patient was intubated, and they were checking for a pulse. They had given so many meds. Like, people were screaming like what meds were given. They were writing down times, and I'm just sitting over here trying to take it all in. But at the same time, I was just like, this is a lot, and I don't know if I would ever be able to do this. And so I kind of had like mixed emotions at that time. So I remember the pulmonologist looked at me, and like, I love him now. He probably doesn't even remember me because the turnover rate in that hospital is ridiculous. But he was probably like my second favorite pulmonologist I've ever worked with. And so I remember that he looked at me, and all students wear like these same stupid colored scrubs. And at the hospital, the nurses, the RNs actually wore galaxy blue, and then we had to wear navy blue so they could tell we were students. And we had this big ugly patch on our shoulder that said we were students. He knew I was a student, and he was like, he was like, come do compressions. This is why you have to be BLS certified when you do clinicals, because even though you're a student, you still can participate in CPR. So he like pointed at me, and I just remember like I got real hot. And I was just like, I was like, me? He was like, yeah, come do CPR. So I'm short. I'll say I'm 5'3", but I'm really like 5'2.5". And I was like on my tippy toes, and he was like, somebody get her a stool. And so they brought me like this little stool over, and so I'm doing like CPR. And like, as I'm doing it, my compressions were super whack when I first started, because I'm like barely pushing down, because it's different doing CPR on a person than it is doing it on the mannequins when you get your BLS certification. So he kind of coached me through it. He was like super nice. And then he finally yelled 2 minutes, and like I had like sweat beads on my forehead. I was hot. I was like, okay, I gotta switch out. And so another student was up there too, and me and her switched out. And I'm telling y'all, I was so hot. I was sweaty. Like, doing CPR is so hard, and it shows you that you are so out of shape. And I was just like, for one, I can't believe I did that. For two, I can't believe how hard it was. And for three, I need to lose some doggone weight, because I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to continue to do this if this is the like specialty that I'm gonna go into. Like, girl, I was so tired. I was huffing and puffing. You would have thought that I just did like an hour of cardio, and it was 2 minutes of CPR. 2 minutes of CPR. It was so rough, and it seemed like it took forever. But It was only 2 minutes. So after the code was over, me and my nurse actually went back downstairs and we were taking care of our patient. And so I was just asking her a bunch of questions about the whole process and like who decides who's in charge and the roles that everybody plays, because it is a lot different from running a code from how you practice it when you're BLS certified. When you get ACLS certified, because that's when you actually do a mega code, but it is completely different from just your basic life support, and it is still completely different from being ACLS certified. And so I just had a lot of questions, and luckily my nurse that I followed that day, she was really, really good, and I still talk to her to this day. Like, she was so good, and she was answering all of my stupid questions that I was asking, but it was just so intriguing. The patient ended up getting a heart rate back. I don't know what the outcome was after that, but the code lasted for about 35 to 40 minutes. It was like a very long process, and as I have gotten years and years of experience in the ICU, I have seen a code run up to 2 hours. So your code times vary from patient to patient, situation to situation. I just remember I had a lot of emotions of, oh my God, will I ever have enough knowledge in my head to be able to actually do this? As well as, this is so interesting, and to see somebody go from basically not being alive to being back alive was the best experience to be a part of while I was in clinicals, like my whole clinical rotation. My clinical rotation is what actually got me my first ICU job. Like I said, that's the hospital and the unit that I actually ended up getting hired in fresh out of school as a new grad. I went on that topic. I wanted to tell you guys the impression that you make while you're in clinicals can ultimately help you get a job, and especially in a specialty that is a little higher acuity, and it's a little harder for new grads to get in, such as the OR, the ICU, the NICU, labor and delivery. Did I say ER? And ER. Make sure you perform your best even as a student, because you never know who's watching you. The director of that unit actually had just got hired right when I got there, and she would watch me as a student. So then I applied, and she was like, I already know that I like you. Answer these questions for the purpose of the interview. But that's basically how I got my job. I made sure to make my presence known because I knew I wanted to be in the ICU, and if I had to do my clinicals there, I was like, I'm gonna make the best impression that I can, and I ended up getting the job there. So yes, since then I have ran many codes. I have been in many codes. Being in the ICU, I have went to many codes on the floor, and I'm very confident in my skills now. So eventually you will learn everything that you need to know. You just have to make sure that you're always willing to learn, you're always studying, that you're asking a million questions just to perfect your specialty. So that is it for my experience time. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave them below in the comment box. Make sure that you subscribe before you leave, as well as on that little notification bell, click it, and then make sure that you select always notify, because I have been getting told lately that a lot of you guys are not being notified of when my videos are popping up and when I post. And since I don't have an actual schedule and I kind of upload when I film and when I edit, I want to make sure that you guys never miss any of my videos. If you have not shopped my store, make sure to click the link somewhere here. Go check out all my nursing merchandise. I will have some amazing merch coming in July, so I want to make sure that you guys are fully aware that my site is up and popping and the people who have been purchasing are very pleased with their purchases. Make sure to follow me on IG and Snapchat, and until the next video, I'll talk to all of you hunts later. Bye. Mwah.
The dash is digi, the schedule busy. My head in a hoodie, my shorty a goodie. My cousins are crazy, my cousins like boogie. Life is